Evening.
This is a caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council. Today is Monday, April 20th in the year 2015. It is we had a 5:30 start. It's 5:33 p.m. We have President roll call, Councilperson Gajewski, Ramchal, Bajano, Yun.
Here.
Councilperson Osborne is absent. Coleman.
Here.
Rivera. Waterman.
Here.
Lavara.
Here.
We have 8 members in attendance. We're expecting Councilperson Osborne to be absent. In the chair for the last time as a public official is Kristen Russell. And Kristen is leaving us after this week for another opportunity. We wish her well.
Yes, we do.
And for that reason, you get to bat first tonight. What do you have on here?
I actually have sorry, I don't know what number it is on the agenda. It's the affordable housing. Yep.
Okay, would this be to add formula? No. Non-refundable fees?
Yes.
This is 3E. It's an ordinance of the council amending and supplementing Chapter 345 zoning, Article 4 fees, deposits, and inspections, dealing with Section 345-32 non-refundable application fees of the Jersey City Municipal Code.
Yes, this is a simple amendment. We had an original draft that I think many of you had seen, but we got some help from the law department, and the language has been reworded. But what this still does is it clarifies that there are no fees for affordable housing to the planning department. However, for those projects that may be mixed use or mixed income, the portion of that project which is not affordable is still subject to fees. We had some people who came in and said, well, they didn't say it, they implied that they had a few affordable units and should therefore be exempt from all fees, and this just clarifies our practice that that is not the case.
Any comments as her final? Yeah. Thank you for your service. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have the representatives on the historic. They have to go to another meeting, so invite them to step forward. We have Dan Reardon and sir from the state, yes?
Consultant for the planning department.
Oh, consultant, okay. Hi. You just introduce yourself.
This is you're here about 3L, I'm assuming, the ordinance adopting amendments to the land development ordinance, adopting the West Bergen East Lincoln Park Historic District as a municipal historic district.
I am, sir.
Council members, this is ordinance 15040. If it should be introduced, it's going to be moved up to the second reading. That way we'll stay in numerical order, plus we'll put what's likely to be the biggest draw at the May 13th meeting on the top, okay? 3L.
3L. If you'd just like to introduce yourselves and...
And I'm Patrick Harshbarger. I am the principal architectural historian at Hunter Research in Trenton, New Jersey. Harshbarger. Our firm was selected by the city's planning department to prepare the technical nomination for the West Bergen Historic District. It was a competitive process and of qualified firms, and we were selected about 2 years ago. And the process began with preparing a technical nomination, which my job as the consultant is to make sure that this district meets the highest professional standards as well as the legal standards for historic districts that are set out in 2 places. One is the municipal land use law of the state of New Jersey, which is what guides your city ordinance for establishing historic districts. The other is the National Historic Preservation Act and the National Register Guidelines, which are established by the federal government and mimicked by the state of New Jersey for its landmarking of historic districts. Essentially, the local landmarking and the state and the federal landmarking all use the same technical criteria, but your laws come from very different sets of legislative authority. Yours comes under the municipal land use law of the state of New Jersey and your city ordinance, whereas the federal and state come from federal and state legislation that has really nothing to do with zoning or land use specifically. It's more of a state and federal recognition is one that is both for prestige as well as for guiding the actions of government entities and agencies. So in other words, if the district is listed on the state and national register, the state highway department would have to go through a process in order to, say, widen a freeway through the historic district, whereas the municipal land use law that you're under is a zoning authority which deals with private property and the ability of private property owners to make changes to their properties, staying within the zoning ordinance and its guidelines. To recap, we began about 2 years ago. We didn't start in a vacuum. This district has actually been something that had been identified in the late 1970s and early 1980s by several planning studies that were done by the city, along with collaboration with Columbia University. And it had been designated by the State Preservation Office as a potentially eligible historic district about 20 years ago. So it wasn't something that was entirely unknown and on the books, not on the books. We started with some earlier planning studies. The city planning department gave us a study area which was actually much larger than the district that I have been recommending in the nomination. And we went out and we looked at every property. We walked the streets. We had introduction letters from the city. If people came out to ask us, we told them what we were doing. We gave them a letter. We tried to spend time with them to explain why we were doing the survey. And generally, there were very positive responses from the people we met on the streets. And then we prepared a draft nomination, which was reviewed by the city staff. We made revisions for them. We then shared the nomination with the State Preservation Office's professional staff, and they reviewed it, and we revised based on their recommendations. And then we have also presented it to the Historic Preservation Commission of the city and the Planning Board, and they have reviewed it and, as I recall, unanimously agreed with its conclusions. We've also taken it to the state's Professional Review Board, and they have agreed with the recommendations, and it has at this time been forwarded to Washington to the National Park Service, which is currently reviewing the nomination. So I think I can say with confidence that it's a very thorough and highly vetted nomination that has been looked at by a large number of professionals in my field and in others who are familiar with this process and its standards. I don't think I need to sort of go over the whole history of the district with you unless you want me to. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that you can just draw this line straight across and take out Ward F for right now?
You mean?
Because I'm having a problem with Ward F,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the residents on this block is just a little bit, but all of the residents in Ward F are giving me a fit. They don't want it. They don't care if it's across the street, but they don't want it. They want to have the options to maybe be involved at another time, like another area did, but the residents in Ward F don't want it. So I need to know, is it possible for you to take that borderline straight across Bergen Avenue? Yes, just so that it's only in Bergen Avenue.
My professional judgment would be that I would not recommend changing the boundary. The reason the boundary is drawn the way it is to, one, maintain what are called streetscapes, historic streetscapes on the blocks on Bergen Avenue that maintain historic properties on both sides. There are several blocks that if you that aren't included because they're all modern properties on those blocks, but the ones that did have historic properties we recommended including. And I think particularly the blocks at the either end of Bergen Avenue are very key to recognizing the streetscapes in the historic district as it's entered. As well, I mean, I think that all my professional colleagues and the other commissioners and board members who've reviewed this nomination have agreed with that boundary.
So my question is, you're gonna force the residents of Ward F to participate in this historical process? Is that what, because that's what it sounds like you're saying to me, because I'm sure that mostly everyone else would probably vote yes for this, but I would have to vote no, so that means they're forced, they don't have a choice? Is that what you're saying? Is that the legal?
He's recommending that it stay intact. I've posed the question, and our corporation counsel's in here, what the process is, and I don't believe gotten clarification on that in terms of amending the, if the council wanted to amend the boundaries on this. Diane, can you speak to that, or, actually, the request went to Joanne, so.
Yeah, my colleagues are not here.
Okay.
I don't know.
Perfect timing. So the question that's being posed, we're talking about the West Bergen East Lincoln Park Historic District.
Oh, sure.
Is the process by which the boundaries could be amended, if it can be done, and what the process would be
Do you mean right now before we finally adopt it, or?
before adoption, or before, yes.
It depends on to what extent, but for the most part, if you're talking about dramatically changing it, you may have to go back through the process.
And what would that process entail?
Well,
Can we get, yeah, the two of you to,
yeah, we could sit down and talk if that's what you want to do.
no, if you can elucidate for Councilperson Coleman.
The constituents in Ward F, the homeowners in Ward F they do not want this. So if we approve this, I can't approve it as a council, but we're saying that we're going to force the residents, all of the homeowners in Ward F don't want this. So what we're saying is we're gonna force them to have to participate in this, even if they don't want it. There has to
Generally
be,
speaking, obviously you have a public process, but when you're doing those things, you don't look for consensus, right? Because not everyone's gonna agree with a particular zoning or overlay that's put in place. So that's not usually the indicator. The indicator is more, is there a sufficient support for it, and is it beneficial for the community and the neighborhood in line with the planning vision for the area? So if you're saying to me, if someone doesn't like it, are we gonna force them to do it? In an isolated case, that could happen. But if you're telling me, whole neighborhoods don't want it, then you might want to look at it again and say maybe it's not appropriate for that neighborhood.
you can look on this map and see that it's that part right here, that's Bergen Avenue. In other words, what I was asking is to make that a straight line across and eliminate Ward F. It's not a lot, but if you have more than 10 homeowners who don't want to participate, I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I see what you're talking. We're just talking about these few outliers. I guess that's to the southwest, southeast.
Oh, it's east of Bergen Avenue. Councilperson Rivera?
Is it east or south?
Folks, Councilperson Rivera?
I agree 100% with my councilperson here, that, we should try to amend and change in that, because when you state that everybody is, or the majority of the people are in favor, well, the majority of the people that really can't stand it those are the guys that are coming to visit us in our offices daily. So, it's tough, to impose this on these residents that the majority of them are retired. And, the last time we had a meeting with the historic, district, and, the meeting that we had here, when you say fees are not going to be going up, when in fact fees are going up, we have to be careful with imposing such a big thing on
Fees, costs.
well, costs.
Maintenance
Well,
costs.
We have to be careful with that. So, we should definitely, amend this or pull this thing until it gets in.
Ramshal and then Bogiano.
So we had a meeting, right? Myself, Council President Navarro, Councilwoman at Large George Waterman, Councilman Young, we attend the meeting.
And Danny was there.
Rivera. That was my number one question. And which I asked, because most of the call, and I agree with you, Councilman Coleman, most of the call that I got, what if? And they're doing the research and everything, and they don't want it. So, you know, I agree with you, and I think we should look into this.
Yeah, I think that, generally speaking, I think we'd be okay with moving boundaries. I just gotta see what was done with the actual State Historical Preservation Commission to see if they did any approving of the boundaries, because if they did, then we'll have to amend with them.
So if you take no water, then you gotta go back to planning and.
Well, I think that's what he's saying, he needs to get clarification. Councilman Boggiano, then Councilperson Coleman.
I've been asking for the last month that this be pulled until it's all clarified. But just a little while ago, Danny and I had a meeting with residents from Ward F, I believe. And the fees alone to apply for if you want work done in your house, it costs what, $900? $900. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. You have the paperwork, Danny? I left the paperwork inside. But $900 fees to do work on your house?
Well, we have the historic specialist for the city, Dan Reardon there, he could speak to the fees and.
Generally, the fees are related to unit count. So we have the lowest, to my knowledge, the lowest fees for historic preservation in the metropolitan area. For exterior work, it's generally $20 per dwelling unit.
Another question. He's going to get the paper.
Came up with $900.
Who is professional on the Historic Commission that makes these decisions?
That makes decisions as to what?
People coming before you. I was on the Historic Commission for 3 years, and I saw women cry because they were told they can't put in aluminum windows, a certain type of windows. They had to put in wooden windows. And the last time I was there before I walked off was a woman said, I can't afford to do this. I mean, some of the things that people are being made to do are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you know.
Councilperson Coleman?
When I met with the committee, I told them that I went door to door, and they told me no. And I think part of it is not understanding the whole process. And I asked them that if they can get signatures of at least 70% saying that they're with it, then I would feel that at least we've covered the majority of the residents in Ward F, but they haven't come back to me with that, and all I'm getting is that they don't want it. So I would have to say I can't vote for it, and I'm asking my colleagues that you can't, how could you consider a senior citizen or a retired woman who's been owning her home forever crying because she doesn't want to participate in this? I can't do it consciously as a council person. I can't do it.
Dan, did any other body besides our planning board approve these boundaries?
The Historic Preservation Commission reviewed the document, as did the. They had a copy of it.
Do they have an approval process where they say?
Yes.
Okay.
What happens is staff looked at it. Staff, went through it a number of times. There were revisions made, and when we felt it was ready, it was submitted to the State Historic Preservation Office for review by the State Review Board. Okay. And then it was also submitted to the Historic Preservation Commission. Now, that's our own commission, and they are appointed by the mayor.
The State Review Board, they just make a recommendation though, right?
No.
Actually, could I? The State Review Board makes a professional recommendation to the Commissioner of the DEP, and the Commissioner of the DEP did sign the nomination with this boundary. So it is currently already officially listed as a New Jersey Register Historic District with these boundaries. You could request an amendment of it from the state. However, I will say this, that although it's not desirable to have different boundaries, you are under a different process, and you could have different boundaries locally and different boundaries nationally and state.
Go ahead, when you finish. You wanna?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so our next meeting, it's, May
13th.
May 13th, right? So can we leave it on until May 13th? And we, have a meeting, myself, Councilman Coleman, and probably, Council President, Lodges, and let's come up with a solution and
You
see.
can leave it on. you can
Yes,
do that.
I will, yeah,
But
can we?
If you're gonna amend it on May 13th, that would be a substantial change, no matter
With any luck-
the boundaries. So that would be going back to first reading, basically, on May 13th, and introducing.
So you can find out whether we can make those changes.
Well,
At least that shows a good faith that this council is looking out for all of Jersey City and not just a certain area. I think we should pull it and find out if we can make the changes, and if we can't make the changes, now that's another story, but at least we should give them that courtesy to say, we're looking in to see if we can change the boundaries to make it one straight line and all in B. Do you understand? That at least gives a respect to the residents of Ward F. Right now, if we don't pull this, I think we're totally disrespecting them and not giving them an option of what they want to happen with their own homes. And I don't think that's a fair thing for us as a council to do.
So, I will. Along the Ward F boundary?
These about 18 properties.
Properties. There's no apartment buildings?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 apartment buildings,
Apartment
yes.
buildings.
It looks like 13.
Just residential homes.
10?
It looks like 13 to 14 lots.
Right.
How'd you get to 18? 18 lots. Oh, those are like little individual lots, yeah. Okay. Looking at 18 lots. So here's the argument. We remove Ward F, right? By removing Ward F, because the residents don't want it there, there are also residents in parts of Ward B who may not want it there. Do we then start to begin picking and choosing, and where do the lines stop getting drawn?
90% or more of B wanted it, and when we're saying drawing a line, that's all in one district at least. Ward F only has a small portion, which is easier to eliminate that one line rather than to go in and out of blocks. I don't know. All I know is I'm trying to come up with a solution that's going to not have people who don't want to participate. Because as a council person, that's what I'm supposed to do. They don't want to participate. They don't want to be involved. I got a word from Charlene that this happened on Summit Avenue or something like that, and later on they wanted to participate, and they were able to, which means a better understanding, and if this is not going to stop it, and it's also going to allow them to get a better understanding to make a better conscious decision. I think that's what we as council people need to do, make a decision to allow them the time that they need to research and find out what it's going to cost before they make a decision. Right now, they're afraid. They don't understand. They find the fees and repairs and things are going to be out of control for them, and they don't want it at all. And I'm not the only one who knows this. I met with the committee. They know it too, that Ward F doesn't want to participate, and they said they were going to go out and do additional explanations or something like that to try and bring back signatures that people are aboard. Well, I don't know if that's happened, but as of Thursday, it hadn't happened. So I don't know if it happened or not.
Okay, so. I would say, so, Councilman Ramshaw, do you want to have that discussion, and as you suggested, with the Councilperson Coleman and who else? And Rivera?
Look, everybody had worked so hard on this historic district, and I want to move forward. But at the end of the day, I don't want the resident from Ward F that does not want this, that they feel that the council is throwing this down their throat. And Councilwoman Coleman and I had this conversation back and forth, and I agree with her. It's her ward, like my ward, I'll fight for my ward, but you have a right to do what's right for your ward as well. So I think April 13,
May 13th?
I mean, May 13th, we'll have the second reading. Before I leave it on the table, and then it's gonna have to get pulled then it gotta go back to first reading.
He's gonna have to do that
yeah.
anyway, because it's going to be major change, which means if we don't take it off now and try to get the issue resolved and put it on as a first reading in May, if we pull it now, it's still going to have to go back to first reading in May, but at least you will have the chance to try to see if you can amend before you put it on and have everybody vote against it, you should pull it and try to see if you can amend the boundaries so that at least when it comes before the council, it will be easier to vote on it.
All right.
Okay?
So I'll ask my colleague, I mean, if everybody agree to pull this, and then we sit and have a meeting, and then reintroduce it as first meeting in May, and then we all agree to what needs to get done here.
Sounds great.
Now, if we can't get it amended, we still gonna vote.
If we can't get it,
That's right.
amended, it's coming back and
We
we'll-
bring it
we'll
back
vote. Yeah,
as
and
is.
let the people come, speak, and then we go for a vote.
Okay, that's fair.
That's a great try. Thank you.
Councilman, I'm not, we all look, you're my colleagues, and I'm not gonna go against your ward. I respect that, and.
And they're going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You gotta shoot a couple of town hall meetings, you know.
Look, whatever you guys want, I will do.
Yeah.
We need to get this through, and I will work with you guys to get this through.
See if we can get it amended. If not, however it comes back, that's what we have to vote. But we have to try that, that's it.
Fine, well, we're gonna sit with the council president, and we're gonna come up with something. We got to,
Jeremy said he's going to look
Yeah.
into this, so
Right.
that's the legal ramification of the process.
So we need to know what the exact process is if you do an amendment.
That's right.
I actually requested it from Joanne previously.
I got the same one.
We'll look at it tomorrow closely.
I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to make that judgment.
Councilwoman, you're right?
Yes, I'm happy with that, yes. And in the meantime, I just have to add one thing, is that they go back and explain. In other words, some of the stuff that they told me that's going to happen, I think residents might be happy with that, but I can't tell them what they are. The group needs to go back and tell them and talk to them and give them more information.
Pager, just outlining what you talked about, the fees, what the approval process is, just something like a communication tool that they can give out to the constituents when they ask these questions, and there's a lot of misinformation out there about this.
FAQ.
If I may, just put on the record, is that city planning has developed part of a website, okay? If you go into the city's website, you go to government, HEDC, and then there's a section, Historic Preservation Commission. And there is a pretty substantial blurb with an awful lot of links that you can go to that are specifically geared for this new historic district, okay? Or at least it was put together in preparation for a possible new historic district here.
Is there an FAQ section?
The FAQ, there is not an FAQ because things are broken down somewhat, and the frequently asked questions have been, there have been about 5 very
I think it would be helpful to have.
Constant ones.
Addresses very succinctly
not a problem.
people's concerns. I've looked at the website, it's a lot of information. It's a little information overload for your average resident and your average council person who's reviewing that information and trying to look through the links and so forth to find the answers that they're looking for. Councilman Ramshaw?
I'm finished. I just want to note it and get it on the record that I have been meeting with the committee for the historic district, and we have a lot of meeting, and I specifically said to the committee that this council will not go against any one of our colleagues. We will make sure we sit and we get everything right before we push the legislation and vote on it. And I could see it's happening, and it's the truth. We need to make sure that this legislation is right and everybody is happy with it before we vote on it. And That's all.
And I'm trying to do that too. I was trying to come up with solutions to make them understand what it's all about, but I don't know if those things haven't happened.
Ordinance, that's what it sounds like.
Yes.
Until we find out the boundaries.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you.
Until we find
Until we figure out the process to, yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time again. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you did ask me this, Joyce, so.
council often approves different people for commissioner seats throughout the department. But I see, since I've been here, that there's no type of training for the council people. But, you know, I'm on the planning board, I had to go through training. If you go through redevelopment, you have to go through training. But when we first get in office, there's no type of training, no type of book, no type of guideline. So I want it stated here, that's a concern of mine, and what can we do to improve that? Because we always get new council elected officials. And, you know, that becomes a problem with certain issues.
That's a good point. And,
So,
we should create a refined training process. We do give out some materials, but it's really specific to you know, Robert's rules or our rules of orders and all that stuff. But, you know, there's some other things we should do.
League of Municipalities.
League of Municipalities provides.
I've been to the League of Municipalities, I've been to the conference, but they don't go in depth when it comes to the council seat. They do not. I've been there.
Listen, Councilman, your point
No one is arguing with you, Councilman.
I know.
Your point is well taken. We should
I was a councilwoman for 3 months. I was parking in the back and walking all the way around the corner to the front to come in the front door. It took 3 months for me as a council person to learn that I could come in from the back door. So things like that, that's what I'm talking about. Small
we should develop something. And we'll work on that.
Soon.
Yeah.
An esteemed councilwoman like you should be coming through the front door.
I've been there, that's why I keep going.
Before we continue, I just want to,
What I gave you was.
Councilman Yun.
You know, I think added to what the Joyce Waterman said, as I understand, a lot of council members from this council, they belong to a lot of different agencies or board. Can we provide some kind of chart so who belong to where?
Right.
You know, can you do that?
All the commissions are available. That information is always available to the clerk's office. But if you want, we'll have an email together. Just
My colleagues, whoever belong to any board agency and so on. So, you know, I didn't know that actually Chico belonged to JCIA, but after I read the things, I kind of, so, you know what I'm saying?
we'll do a summary for you, Councilman.
Yes, we did, but, you know, have some wine sheets so we can, you know. Good, thank you.
Okay. So I was remiss, if you just indulge me for a minute. Oh, you're welcome.
Because I spoke to you about this, remember, and I just thank you so much. Thank you, corporate council, the residents of Ward F, thank you very much, okay?
I was remiss, at the start I should have announced, today in the Caucus room you'll see here, there's an art exhibit that honors Earth Day and showcases children's artwork from Jersey City. Yeah. And I say children, many are high school and middle school students. It's really extraordinary work, and as well as international winners from the annual Green Dream organized by the New Jersey nonprofit called Frogs Are Green. And they have an art exhibit here at City Hall beginning on May 2nd. It's also, there's an exhibition going on at Pershing Field, I believe. And frogs are threatened by habitat loss, climate change, pollution, and disease. By saving the frogs, we will also save our planet. Earth Day in Jersey City is Sunday, April 26th, in front of City Hall, and we will have Earth Day festivities here. So, all are invited. Moving on. They're frogs. They're great, though. Look at these. Great work. I think I didn't take a count. Who's got one item? Any staffers have one item only? 2 items on tonight's agenda. 3 items. You've got one? Okay. Oh, you're on an abatement. Okay. I'm sorry. You'll have to wait. I'm talking about the city staffers. One, come on up, Mary Ann.
All right, Mary Ann's here for 3B. It's an ordinance of the municipal council adopting amendments to the Morgan Grove Marin redevelopment plan to create a community benefit bonus provision on block 11508 along the Louise Munoz Marin Boulevard frontage and to expand the 4-story sub-district A zone.
Here we have Mary Ann Richard Carter with us.
Is that good? Does that, doesn't even matter? Okay. Okay. The MGM amendment that's before you today looks at the second block. There's 2 blocks in the MGM redevelopment plan. And these blocks, one end fronts on Marin and the other fronts on Grove Street. About 2 years ago, maybe it was a year and a half, there was a bonus that was approved for one of the blocks that's closer to the PATH station for a bonus to allow the building to go up to 400 feet if there was a theater incorporated into the redevelopment plan project on that corner of the block. The lot also had to be greater than 25,000 square feet, and there were a few other conditions that fronted on the full length of Marin Boulevard. And that bonus was approved and the plan was amended. The community is very happy with that bonus, and the project has not moved forward yet, but the zoning is in place. Now, the owners on the adjacent block, which has almost the same size parcel of property, same frontage on Marin, are requesting the same bonus. Actually, it's a little smaller, it'd be 375 feet. They're also looking to, as part of that bonus, provide a 3,000 square foot public plaza in the base of the building, and also for every additional unit over and above the current zoning, $10,000 per unit to be used towards either affordable housing, public open space improvements, or pedestrian improvements within the immediate community. There was a planning board meeting on this, and there was significant, actually there was consensus on that bonus provision between the community about 6 months ago, say. And somewhere along the line, there was a request to add the affordable housing component and add the pedestrian access way component as another opportunity to use the money for. And that's where we're at. There's some community objection to that, but it's very small, and that is something that I'm hoping that the councilwoman for this district would be aware of and work with her constituents on. She is, okay, because right now we have got to a point where the zoning really does what the city needs it to do, and the final decision on how monies would be spent would be up to the city council. And some of it seems like some of the fears of the community that were raised at the planning board are something that worries that they may never have to face, because the way that these bonuses work is funds are collected if a site plan moves forward, and everyone here knows the length of time it takes to get from site plan approval to even building permit construction and then construction. That's a 5-year length right there. So by the time there are funds, it'll be 5 years from now, even if it started tomorrow. Likelihood that wouldn't even be the case. So if someone takes advantage of these funds, the specific issues of what the money would be spent and where it would be spent, it would be decided by a council sitting 5 years from now. And what this bonus does is it allows for the most flexibility at that point in time and allows the funds to be used on what they're needed for when you have them. And we think that it's a good solution. It actually was a compromise from what was originally proposed. And we had an outpouring of support from the community on this at the planning board meeting. There are a lot of long-time residents that really liked the proposal and wanted to see it put into effect. So that's the biggest component of this. Yeah.
Councilwoman Osborne sit down with you and the committee and all this to come up with what you have right now?
She's been very engaged.
Yeah, she has been. She actually has been sent the exact text, and it's gone back and forth. And I just recently just made sure that I filled out the details for her survey as well, so that the details of the existing and the proposed are outlined for people to look at on the website.
Okay, that's what I
Meeting.
was gonna ask.
I reached out to her directly and asked her if it was okay to put this on, and she was okay.
She was okay?
Yeah. Councilperson Yoon?
Now that the raise of maximum is to 375 feet?
Yes.
Okay, now, if you raise from the original was 80 to 375, 100 to 375, so 110. So we got a 265 feet gonna be higher than what original. What is the value of the that 275 at this location?
What is the what?
The value.
Value.
Yeah. Dollar-wise.
I'm a city planner, so I don't know value. I can tell you, I can tell you the building form of the buildings next door and around it, and how this building will fit next door to the other buildings that exist or that are permitted, and I can and they're actually perfectly aligned, so that this building is actually a little smaller than the one that's approved to be directly adjacent to it. The value, as far as how much the bonus value would be, is the bonus value could be up to $2.5 million towards the community improvement funds.
So $2.5 million means that divided by 10,000. What is it? 250?
Yep. 250 additional units. Yep.
So in other words, this place. So how many? So now, when we give the 225 extra heights, how many units they can build more?
It's about 225. It could be anything from 225 to, let's say, 250.
Each unit's market value, let's say, $500,000. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So 275 times 50 unit, how much is it? So now, what they get, the developer, and then what they give us a bonus, then we get peanuts. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that sounds like a $10,000 bonus gift for every unit. Sounds like a lot, but what they got, they're gonna get it by changing their tune. And what we're gonna get, City of Jersey City, we get really peanuts. So $10,000 too little. What they get benefit out of it, you know what I'm saying?
There's a fine line here, because, and I'm gonna hope that you can help me on this, because zoning isn't about money. Zoning is for the form of the land, for the most part. The community bonus is extra, is because that has been something that, as a neighborhood, that we've looked to incorporate into zoning. There are a lot of places that will have zoning that has, say, that density or that height, that intensity, and there's no community bonus specified. It's just what we do. It's sort of more neighborhood planning. We don't have to do that. If the appropriate size is to be 375 feet at this density, then that's what we should zone it. The community bonus is an extra, and it's an extra because mostly because there is no enabling legislation, other types of things to actually offset the costs of development in these neighborhoods. And what we try and do is provide a benefit for the community. It's not that the city's supposed to make that kind of money off any zoning changes. That's something that's not legal for us to do. So it shouldn't be a direct payback. It shouldn't be that we're changing the zoning and we're going to make this much money back. That's not something we can do. Yes. So the only thing that's what this is sort of basic. This is an outgrowth of the policies that have, kind of occurred over time with meeting with the communities and making them part of the planning process.
So communities are happy with that?
Yes. There are a couple, yes, there are some people that are actually concerned about the money being used towards the pedestrian improvements, and that's something that will have to be worked out, I think, with the councilwoman, and maybe will come up in discussion, but they haven't really made their full decision on that either. But most people came out in full support of this.
Like this, if they build, because of the height change, if they build 250 more units, so each unit, let's say, minimum $500,000, they make $125 million more. And what they give as a gift of the city, only $2 million, $2.5 million. So they make $125 million extra. The meantime, city will just get only $2.5 million. And we need Affordable Trusting Fund more dollars in our account because we got only $8 million. By the way, when is the next Affordable House Trust Fund committee is going to have a meeting?
I'm sorry?
She wouldn't know. She wouldn't know that. She wouldn't know
Yeah.
that. She doesn't know that.
Not a PA.
I don't know if the meeting's been scheduled yet. I know Carmen's been asking about
Yes, they're asking for
reopening
dates
the committee
available.
members and then scheduling the
Yes.
meeting.
So my point is just the plan, not as a planning side. When I see it as councilman, as a money dollar side, we feel like I get peanuts.
I understand.
Next time when you negotiate, ask for more.
We're not in the real estate business. That's
Then
the
whose
other-
fault is that?
Excuse me?
Whose fault is that to order to get some more? Who's have to be work harder?
You gotta build a building.
You want to know who faulted that have we only been giving out money?
All right, there you go. All right.
Councilman, if I can say something, just
But there was overwhelming support for it, but there was also some folks who are in opposition, but my understanding is that there's large support for this. Councilman Gajewski?
Which block are we talking about? 11507 or 11508? That's the bonus one.
507.
Because it says
507 is being-
508, and then it says 507, so I was just trying to figure out.
It says 508.
It says 508 on the front,
Oh, I put the wrong one, I'm sorry.
so
That's
it's 508 or?
It is 508, I'm sorry.
508, because I was just trying to figure out where the building was going, and I had it on the other side.
Yes.
It's 508, okay.
The summary needs to be corrected.
Yes, thank you.
Title has to be changed.
The title.
The title says 508.
The title does.
508 is correct, isn't it?
Yeah, it says 508.
No, she just said 508.
508.
508 is
She said
correct.
508.
It says under the purpose, it says 507 twice, so that's the only thing that's confusing me. I thought it was over.
And
here,
it,
so-
yeah,
There's
the
other.
bonus provision is for 507, not 508. For 508, not 507, excuse me. Yeah, because it's in here
It says 507.
under the summary statement and the
I was
purpose.
trying to figure out before, I thought it was.
Yeah, there's.
Any other questions related to ordinance 3B?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Mary Ann. Who else had one? Staffers, Matt, come on up.
Marshall Avenue. 3A. And then
Oh, you have four? No, I'm sorry. Who had two?
these are the easy ones.
Two, come on, Mark.
Jerry's got like 17.
I have one regarding the sale of
The auction?
the auction for 440.
What's our number?
That'd be 10-0.
10-0, as an Oscar.
Resolution authorizing the purchasing agent to sell at public auction various motor vehicles and bulk items not needed for use, public use.
This is a list of vehicles and scrap metals that are still at the 440 DPW compound that we have to have a sale, and we need to move quickly because Honeywell is now occupying that property. So we need to remove all of our equipment and all of our vehicles that are there. There are 46 motor vehicles listed and 36 bulk items. And right now, I believe it's scheduled with the purchasing agent for April 27th.
April 27th.
April 27th is the scheduled date right now. And the anticipated revenue is about $40,000 that we anticipate it could grow. $40,000. No, we moved actually, January was when the sign shop and our maintenance facility came. We started moving in October, November. The last workers were out of there in January, but we have a lot of equipment, 60 years worth of DPW and City of Jersey City materials still lie around there. So we need to vacate.
From the scrap to go back to the city, right?
General fund.
Okay, that's right.
Not to the DPW.
Okay.
Mark,
Yeah,
what
that's
happened to
awesome.
our Vietnam?
Boat and the other boats,
Well, it's a good question. We're actually bringing things to the new 440. The one boat that was donated that you're talking about we can't sell that. That's going to be at 440 to Emergency Services Unit. We have World Trade Center steel there. That is being relocated to 440. The Loews Theater seats, something. Yeah, to Linden Avenue, I'm sorry, to Linden Avenue, to the new facility. So all of those things that we need to retain, we're in the process of bringing them to Linden Avenue. Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Deep Run Aquatic Services for the pools.
right, it's for chemicals. It's for chemicals for two of our pools. This is a pay-to-play. There was two bids. This is the lowest bid, which is Deep Run. They're the same service provider that we've used for the last 5 years. They provide the chemicals for two of our pools. Questions? The cars are going to be Jerry's. What about your? Yes.
Can anybody bid on these things?
Yes.
Yeah, this auction, would be a certification process. But anyone can go up
I
there?
think all the scrap metal is going to be a bulk bid. You'd have to take everything. The vehicles are separate. Yeah.
1999 Chevy Blazer, Toyota Camry. Anyone can vote on these things?
Yes.
And they're as is. So they may have been scrapped for parts. That's why they go as bulk sometimes.
Councilwoman, I'll send you the
They're been certified.
public notice. I'll make sure I email you the public notice because I just saw it from Peter Folgato today.
Can you send it to everybody?
Yes, I will. Yes, I'll send it to you.
I have two issues I want to make answer for that. One is that the 28 Patterson Senior Center's elevator, they're out of order since February 14, 2015. So almost more than 3 months now. So where did you stand now?
The schedule is we have Atlas Elevator creating and building a board to repair it. The cost is about $30,000. It's being manufactured in California. It's the entire rebuilding of the elevator. It's going to have all new doors, all new components. It's a custom piece for that elevator. Normally, when elevators go down and pieces like this have to be built, it does take some time. Unfortunately, the turnaround time is 4 to 6 weeks. Once it's in, we should install it right away. I know everybody's concerned about it, as well as I am. We did not learn about that elevator being down until March. Unfortunately, it went down February 14th. DPW, my facility maintenance group, did not know about it being down until the beginning of March, and we acted quickly. Jason from the elevator company, I've been in contact weekly, working on getting that board here. Once it's here, it'll be installed. Yes, Councilman.
When you expect that?
I wish I could tell you it's going to come this week, but I would say within the next 3 weeks, it should be delivered. I know there's a Mother's Day event up there that we're working quickly once we get the component to install. The other thing, just so everybody knows, we did bring our bingo down to the first floor to make it convenient for the seniors. And it's an unfortunate circumstance. That's a historic building also. That was built in the 20s. That elevator is very unique and is a custom piece. So once it is done, it's going to be restored. It's going to be a rebuilt elevator.
Okay, number two.
Go ahead.
Before you director of DPW was housing code, and I heard
I was
that.
in housing code, yes.
Yeah, housing code for
For 30 years,
yeah.
yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I heard that you stopped by 28 Patterson Street, the senior centers.
I did.
And you find a lot of things have to be repaired.
I wouldn't say a lot of things. I was impressed with the building, but yes, I did do an inspection on my own. Yes, with Director Flanagan, and I have a punch list of things that I want to work on. Yes.
Can I have some kind of like progress report to what is a target?
I'd be glad to give it to you.
Can
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Okay, please, so I can answer that the
Sure.
senior who use that building. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mark, bringing up elevators, I mean, fire and police headquarters, the elevator's been out for 2 years. And
Correct.
Jerry's having a hard time getting up those stairs.
I actually met with not Director Shea, but I met with
Jerry?
Paul Reapy and Bob Baker last week and discussed that elevator situation there. And that elevator is also going to be serviced and repaired. It's the exact same repair that's needed at Patterson Street, which is a board to be Yes, true. I spoke to Bob about that elevator also.
Okay.
Off subject, but it's okay.
Folks, that's all you have, Director Ruffin?
That's all I have, unless you have a resolution, if you wanted me to, administration regarding the rejection of the janitorial bids. Yeah, well, if you needed questions answered by me, I'd be here for that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a resolution, I think it's 15 dash.
And 10N.
10N? Okay.
10N, as a Nancy. As a Nancy.
And this is a resolution,
Rejecting all bids for the janitorial services at various municipal buildings.
Right. What happened?
well, Peter Falgato recommends that we rebid it. There was a very low bid. There was a couple of problems with the bids on the janitorial services. I know Bob and I.
So, one of the things that happened is the spec made a specific requirement that you had to have, well, we felt, X amount of people per location. Well, one of the prospective bidders, said he had talked to city staff and was told that he could, bid lower. So if you said you needed 5 people for City Hall, he may have said I needed 3 people. So he bidded 3. So his numbers came in substantially lower than everyone else. We've bounced it around with law department and staff to see, was it worth rejecting that? We know it could end up in litigation. We thought the quicker process would be just to reject it and make it clear the spec up and be very, very clear that they cannot amend the spec. Because if you read the spec, depending on how you read it, maybe you could read it the way that person did. So we've just decided that the best course of action, just reject it and then rebid it and do it and clean it up, make sure it's clear to everyone that you can't amend it. Because if it went to litigation, it might take longer to award it. So we just figured, let's do it this way.
And our purchasing agent suggests that we do that, and once we get the rejection, we can then put out the bid again. And we're gonna enter into a month-to-month contract with the janitorial services we have now, so we're not gonna miss a beat. Okay, that's it. Thank you, Councilman. I will get you a report, Councilman Young.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Coleman.
Council President? Okay, who else is a staffer? 4, 5. You're up, Matt.
Poor Jerry.
Sorry, Jerry. Should spread them out a little bit and
This is Garfield Avenue, I think. Garfield?
Yeah.
We'll do them all together, 10A? 3A?
3A?
Garfield Avenue? 3A, Garfield Avenue.
Adopting Garfield Avenue redevelopment.
Tell everyone who you are, Matt. Tell everyone who you are.
Matt Ward, City Planning. I'm senior planner there. Been there since this summer. And I worked on this with Kristen Russell, which I am sad to be seeing go. She is my cubicle neighbor. We have the Garfield Avenue redevelopment plan. It is a redevelopment area that is located at the intersection of Garfield Ave and Wilkinson Avenue.
3A. And there's companion resolution on this. It's 10F. So we're doing both at the same time. Yeah, so they're doing both at the same time.
Should we do the redevelopment plan first?
Yes.
All right. And it's bounded by Bayview on one side, Arlington Avenue on the other, Wilkinson, and a Paper Street, Commercial Street, which is behind and parallel to Garfield Avenue. It's relatively small. It is 17 lots on 2 different city portions of city blocks. And the west side is split into one zone and the east side is split into another. On the west side, we have the adaptive reuse zone. And it was...
Reuse, what's that mean?
That means the reuse of existing buildings. That is the intent and purpose of that zone. And in that area are several older industrial buildings. One that is actually has been gone through the adaptive reuse process and is being used as Senior Spirit, which you might be aware of.
Of Wilkinson and Arlington, is that included in here?
Yes, I don't know.
It's right on the corner of
there is a building right
Arlington and Wilkinson.
right over past Judgment, but yes.
Is that what you're telling me? No,
Sorry,
I'm
what?
kidding. No. What are you saying now?
Yeah, there's so yes, the block that is between Bayview and Wilkinson from Garfield to Arlington, that whole block is included except for a small portion of residential buildings on Bayview. Yeah.
So now, I'm sorry, I missed you from the beginning. What are you saying this is going to do to that?
So that would be the adaptive reuse zone for this redevelopment plan.
And reuse zone means you're going to allow them to be able to put that same kind of building back in that place?
No.
I mean, if you say reuse, that means
Right.
whatever's being used
So
there
right
already?
now, and one of the reasons why this redevelopment plan came to be is that this area is zoned R1, although it is made up of a mix of industrial and commercial uses primarily.
That means they're in the wrong place, according to the redevelopment plan
That
now.
means they existed there before we made it R1.
I think she wants to know, can you knock that building down and rebuild?
No.
Nice.
The
You have to
intent-
reuse that building.
The intent is to reuse that building. The-
Of a residential area. It has trucks backing up in and out of the driveway. They build without permits. I've called the police 1,000 times, and so I want to know, are they still going to be able to do the same thing there that they're doing now?
So the permitted uses in that zone are residential, work, live, artist studio workspace, restaurants category 1 and 2, retail, business incubator, community center, daycare center, adult daycare center, senior housing, assisted living residence, long-term care facilities, or a combination of the above.
I love it. So that means if you're doing something other than that, you have to change it. Is that correct?
No, unless they come in for an application, they can continue the uses that they're that are going on there presently.
I don't understand that. What you just named, right?
Yes. If they want to come in with a new application, that these are the permitted uses that they can do.
But if they don't come in with a new application, then they can keep on doing what they're doing.
Yes, just, yep. Now let me explain that the impetus, as well as maybe the zoning as R1 and not really being correct for that area, Landmark Developers, which is the owner of Senior Spirit, as well as, I believe, the large building you're talking about, asked us to do this redevelopment plan, or look into doing a redevelopment plan. And we expanded the boundaries of it because we thought that it should encompass the area across Garfield Avenue. And this is the plan that came of that ask. And we feel that it is tailored well to the existing buildings that are there, as well as the opportunity across the street in what we're proposing as the residential district.
So if there's a building there that's doing something that's against the way it's zoned right now, what are the options? In other words, what options do they have, that particular area that's in an R1 zone doing something that's not
Code-
allowable or coded under
Code
R1
enforcement.
zone? What?
Code enforcement.
Code enforcement?
Yes.
Because I just want you to know I live right there, okay, so, code enforcement?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I'm through.
In here?
I think Mary Ann wants to say something.
Yeah, I mean, what you're raising is a zoning issue, it's a pre-existing non-conforming use. And that's something that, unless they're in violation of things, we can't change or do anything about. We can make sure they don't expand, and they can't change their use to another non-permitted use. But, I mean, legally, we can't do anything until we change. But we can put in place zoning of what we want them to change to. And that's
Because
what
our
this is.
windows supposed to be exposed and all of that kind of stuff, in other words.
If the zoning says it, and so if they come in for an application, then they need to comply with the new zoning. If the zone says it, then they will need to do
But
that.
zoning, what did you tell me? I'm gonna write that down. Zoning enforcement?
Code enforcement? Moving on to the residential district, it's across the street, the other city block that this redevelopment plan encompasses. The permitted use there is multifamily residential, and that is it. The building can go up to 5 stories, and we came up with a bonus provision to allow the building to go up to 6 stories. And that includes a pedestrian plaza of 600 square feet that is privately held and maintained, and a privately held and publicly maintained pedestrian extension of Wilkinson Avenue, extending from Garfield Avenue to Canal Crossing, which made a recommendation in their plan to create that pedestrian link. So we are continuing that effort forward and trying to get that done through a bonus provision in this plan. The bonus provision, to also get the additional height, we are asking that it's required that they provide affordable housing at the ratio of, for every 10 units constructed, a development shall be obligated to include 1 unit that is affordable. And the rest of it is most of our standard design features that we include in most of our redevelopment plans. There was some specific design language put in for the adaptive reuse zone, so I think, Councilman Coleman, you would like to see that there. I think that sums up the majority of that plan.
You told me, because some stuff to me is not right. You know, if you tell me it's an R1 zone and we have the kind of activity that goes on there, to me that should be in a lot somewhere on Route 440 or whatever, the big deliveries and things like that they have. They tear the cable lines down and we have to call, it's just everything. That's because the wires are low, because it's commercial. I mean, it's residential. No, I'm not working against you. It's like you got space
Yeah.
down there, you
Or,
know.
is that fine?
Wait, before we move on, 10F is the companion?
Yes. Do we want to do 10? Do you want to do 10?
Companion, and it's very specific that it is a non-condemnation redevelopment area, the Garfield Avenue study area.
So yes, this is the companion. The non-condemnation redevelopment area is new language, a new designation from 2014 in the local housing and redevelopment law, and we thought that this was the right designation for this area. We detailed every lot within the study area, and it met the criteria of several different criteria, like a generality of buildings that are substandard and unsafe, unsanitary, the discontinuance of the use of buildings previously used, land that is owned by the municipality. I'm actually not sure. I don't think that one fits, but there's overall the area can be conveyed as an area that needs to be in need of redevelopment, specifically an area, non-condemnation redevelopment area.
Any questions? I have one. So, based on what Councilperson Coleman was saying about one of the properties where there seems to be some concerns and issues in the community, is it desirable to not have that condemnation option on the table? I'm not sure how strongly you feel about that property that you were mentioning, Councilperson.
It's in the wrong place. You know,
Yeah.
I paid a lot of money for the new development that I'm living in, which is right across the street from it. And the usage, and it's not just that it's mine, if it was any residence home, I would feel the same way. The usage of that building and the interference and disrespect that it has for the homeowners on the block, somebody should talk to them and something should happen. They have trucks that come in and out. They built a shipping dock in the back, and they didn't have any permits, and I called someone to come and see, so they went and got a permit. But I'm saying because they own that large area, they just do what they want to do there, and it's disrespectful to the homeowners. Not me, all of the homeowners on that block. So when you say condemnation, that means that you can write to them and request that they either fix
Seize their
up or
property.
change up, or you seize the property. Is that correct? Is that what condemnation
Eminent domain, are we talking
Yeah.
about?
Right.
So I would like condemnation to be in there.
But we don't want to put them on full court.
Well, no, they're a good, I'm not saying that they're not a good business. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they're, okay. Yes, and that's why I said my property is included in the rest of the homeowners. Even though now that I became councilwoman, they all knock on my door to ask me, what am I gonna do about the telephone wires that they're not, in other words, I become the, of the block because, yeah, but that's
Okay.
hardship.
All right, we're going to move on to the next item, okay?
3C.
Which one, 3C?
3C, an ordinance adopting an amendment to the land development ordinance, adding a definition for formula businesses.
Okay, this is one of two items tonight I'll be talking about on formula business. The first one is the definition, as just said. And I'll just read it because it's fairly short. A type of business establishment that is contractually obligated to maintain two or more standardized characteristics, such as an array of merchandise, menu items, facade design, decor, color scheme, uniform apparel, signage, trademark, or service mark, and where 10 or more other establishments that are similarly contractually obligated to the same corporate entity and in operation within 300 miles of Jersey City. Just to paint the picture, 300 miles is Buffalo to Portland, Maine, which includes Baltimore and DC, all the way down to Virginia Beach and just outside of Pittsburgh. Okay? And then we go on to just in detail describe some of those features we talked above, like standardized array of merchandise, so on.
Questions?
D is the other aspect of the ordinance, adopting amendments to various redevelopment plans to add formula business restrictions.
Okay. So this is an amendment that would affect 41 redevelopment plans, and they are located only in downtown Jersey City. There is a map included. If you move to that map, are you guys in color? No, okay. All right. Actually, the dark color is the area that is will have formula business restrictions imposed. And just to be clear, this is not a prohibition against formula business. As well as this is a cap, and the cap is 30% of ground floor leasable commercial area. And this is not 30% for all of those areas. It's actually specific to the it's specific to the structure or within the single tax lot that these commercial businesses will be coming into. Also, we only apply the formula business definition to the following: retail sales of goods and services, restaurants, all categories, bars, and financial service facilities and banks. There is also exemption for grocery stores greater than 15,000 square feet. 15,000 was a floor amendment made at the planning board that is presented in front of you, and that if that grocery store can exceed the 30% cap of gross leasable commercial area, but that shall be the only formula business within that structure or lot. And then I just wanted to point out another floor amendment that we have that I made after the fact, after planning board, that came to my attention. We had listed 38 as St. Francis Hospital. But that is actually that changed names to Hamilton Square.
Questions for Matt? This is a Wardy, so Councilperson Osborne is in favor of this, I believe? So, yes, I have spoken to her on this, yeah. Just- Councilman Yun.
Actually, I understand that the mayor has a very good intention to protect the small business community in Jersey City. I really thank you for that, his effort. But now, the way they trying to change today's retail market, so more like that a lot of people get into business first time, because they don't know about the knowledge of how operating business, how to manage it. So they used to get into business, one way to get into business is like going to change towards a franchise. So when you see that the ownership of franchise or chain stores, they have two different types of ownership. One, like individually, Joyce Money can be owner of that small franchise stores. That's the one type. Another type is a corporate. One corporation operating 100 units, what 200 chain stores, they actually they are the owners. So now the Joyce Waterman get into one of the business as a chain store because she doesn't know how they get into that business, but she's very interested. So let's say she want to get into, I'm going to pick up anyone, like a cleaning business, housemaid, the franchise nationwide. So now she interested in getting to open the stores. It's downtown because a lot of people working day and night. So maybe that business probably one of the good demand in this area. Let's say she's going to open that, those kind of business. Now what is going to be happening there? She's not qualified to open the business someday? Because of chain stores?
We'll first have to find out where that is. Remember, this doesn't apply to all of downtown. So when you say she's opening in downtown, I can't answer that question because I don't know where in downtown. But assuming that happens, yes. But it's only, remember, we only apply this to retail sales of goods and services, restaurants, all categories, bars, and financial service facilities and banks.
Just good and service.
I'm not,
Small business is a service business. Clean at the house. It's a service business.
well, we have to check it against the definition. Does she have 10 or more, is she a franchise with 10 or more of these?
Yes.
Then she would be restricted to 30% of that structure.
See, that's what I'm saying. I love that the mayor side as a small business owner. I support you 100%. But somehow, that this ordinance is going to be blocked. The people getting, business in those areas owned by individual, small lady.
If I want to, I can open up on the second floor, though, right?
Yes. And in fact, that might be a better use of
I tell you.
money on the second floor.
Yes, no.
Or you can open it up in another floor.
Right, but I can open it up on the second floor too, because the second floor does not include the formula business.
Yes, we understand.
So it won't stop a business owner. They just have to move the location, and if you want to move, just go to the second floor.
See,
If that's the case, based the way I read the order.
30% too.
Right, 30%. So it's more flexibility.
See,
I read
no,
it.
no. If you know the business, retail business, she's not gonna say it like that. Like a certain business.
Right.
The type of business that you're describing will occupy more than 30% of the,
Right, so it's not
floor, and that will want to be on the first floor of the business.
We understand. Understand.
Can I ask one question? Fall in this.
Yeah.
Does not apply.
Does not apply?
Yeah, other things that it doesn't apply.
No. That's what allowed to be there.
Right, trying to protect the integrity of the neighborhoods and so forth.
I agree. Hamilton Square is pretty great. Silverman did a great job over there in Hamilton Square. I like it. Love it.
I disagree.
Any,
Okay, no other questions? Matt, thank you very much.
Jerry.
And now we have Jerry. Oh, what about Elizabeth?
Sorry. Yeah, two license agreements, 6-borough and,
Do you want to talk about them, or? Hey, come on up, Jerry. He's been waiting patiently. Elizabeth is in and out, in and out.
Let's spend some money.
I have 5. I had 4, but the Public Works Director handed me an extra one tonight, so. First one is 10V as in Victor. That's for, yes, 10V as in Victor. That's for the purchase of 4 replacement vehicles for the police department. 4 sorry?
Folks, do we have more questions that we need to address?
He's still looking at.
Thank you, Matt.
10B, we're purchasing cars from Winter Ford, police interceptor utility vehicles under state contract.
Any questions on 10B? Fairly straightforward. Thank you.
That's Gold-type business machine for the purchase of Net Express router and switch under state contract.
This is a piece of specialized equipment for our radio communications. This technology was not available when Bishop Street was originally built. To give an example, what it does is this expands our radio capability. In the old system, for example, the fire department had 2 frequencies. They now have 6 or 7. Total, the frequency can handle 17 different frequencies. Yes.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
For example, the police department utilizes most of the time at least 6. The fire department uses 2, They also have administrative channels, so when there's activity, it's not taking up away from emergencies. Also on the fire ground with this new technology, digital does not work. When you're in a high-rise building or in a tunnel, so you have to switch to an analog frequency. So you need numerous frequencies in case you have numerous incidents also.
Glenn, he was working there.
Next one is 10X.
That's it. Agreement with GTBM for maintaining and support services for the Department of Public Safety existing InfoCop server software application created by GTBM.
10X.
This is maintenance and support of software for our MDTs. This way a police officer in the field can gather information, run license plates, warrants, but also gives dispatch the capability of dispatch in silence.
Didn't we do that the last time, this one?
No, these were pulled in February.
Yes, they were pulled.
They were pulled in February.
10Y, City Clerk, I'm going to ask you to withdraw on that also.
10Y.
Withdraw.
We withdraw one before?
You're withdrawing this one?
Yes, 10Y, please.
10Y is withdrawn?
Yeah, it has to do with our cell phones and the public safety. We're reviewing our policy.
Okay.
We've taken back dozens of cell phones from the field, and we'd like some more time to straighten this out with the vendor. Next one is 10Z.
10Z is in zebra?
Correct.
Only one before.
And then this is for support and
Viper,
maintenance.
Viper Communications for hardware, software upgrades, and 2 additional Intrado positions for the Department of Public Safety.
Yes, this is another example where we're given equipment that was never updated over the years. We missed 8 software updates, and now we're playing catch-up to keep us where we should be.
10Z.
Z as in zebra.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it?
Wow, sorry, Jerry.
That's okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll get it next time.
Yeah, yeah. I deserve that, that's, Elizabeth, you wanna?
H and I. H and I.
H, as in Harry?
H is a resolution of a license agreement with the Sixborough Market to have, based on the pilot we did last year, I think you guys discussed it at length last year, to have 12 total markets in the auxiliary lot of City Hall. It's 2 times per month, May through October, for a fee.
This is absolutely ridiculous, and I'll tell you why. You're inconveniencing about 100 people that live in this neighborhood that have to move their car for this year. Now, the computer, last year, I believe this is a profit organization. This year, I think on the computer it shows a 501c. I mean, come on. Can't they go to Hamilton Park or go to one of the parks? These people park here over the weekend, and this is such a great inconvenience to them to be thrown out of there. Yeah, they park in the lot, and it's wrong. You're inconveniencing the neighborhood. You should charge them. And then, what are they giving us?
It's 2 Sundays per month during May through October, and we did do the no parking last year. We found that there was probably like 5 or 6 public cars. A lot of the pool cars from the city were there.
Not city cars, people in the neighborhood.
They don't often use this on the weekends. Yeah.
Elizabeth, I'm down here a
You
lot.
say fee,
There's a load
meaning
of
they're
people.
gonna pay us?
They're gonna pay a fee for the lot,
The
to use of the
Sixborough
lot.
Market's gonna pass.
That's
How
what
much
I'm
are they
saying,
gonna
they're gonna
pay?
pay
Yeah.
us.
They are paying $40 per use.
The fee is based on, we're only allowed to assess fees for cost recovery. The fee is based on the labor that it takes for us to have an event of that nature there, namely a person from Elizabeth's staff to supervise at the beginning and closing the event to make sure that everything is done in accordance with the city needs. That use that parking lot, it's a shame. It doesn't belong.
But they're not
Put it in the
supposed to be
park.
using the park.
It's free on the weekend. The city hall is closed on Saturday and Sunday, and people park in that lot.
Okay.
And last year, listen, I got a million complaints, and I believe other people did too, because I know most of the people downtown, and it's wrong. Let them go to the Hamilton Park, let them go to Van Voss Park, let them go to Exchange Place or someplace else. But when you push people in the neighborhood around, they get a little annoyed. preparing for this, you did discuss it with the councilwoman. She's strongly in support of it and asked for us to do it again because of the neighbors. But it's because of her constituents' interest in having this amenity.
And I would
And she asked me to pass that along.
From talking to residents citywide, if I could just say, in talking to residents citywide, from Greenville all the way to the Heights, and folks who went to the Sixth Borough Market, they loved it, and they thought it was a great,
Park their cars, they live here.
They
Put
can
it in the
still,
park.
Councilman, they can still,
We have a farmer's market.
they can still park behind City Hall.
Elizabeth, how was it the last year? Sixth Borough Market, the event?
It was a great success. It got
Really, a lot of really great feedback, great press. It was a great community builder, and it started a lot of small business. And honestly, a great idea to have it in the parking lot is to keep them off the street. We're closing streets, interrupting traffic. We're really limited on space for that kind of thing. Yeah.
Councilman Rivera, and Councilperson Coleman.
Two questions. The vendors that are coming out, are they Jersey City vendors?
Mostly about 80% or more are Jersey City vendors, yep.
There are small businesses.
That's my concern, I just wanted to make sure that we get them involved. And food trucks, do they get an invitation to this, like, you know?
Absolutely, Absolutely, I've been in contact with Rom.
Who are you?
This is Jessica, she's the organizer of Sixth Borough.
Would you like to step up and have a seat for this? And we'll have Councilperson Coleman.
I've been in close contact with Ram Gotti. He's the president of the Association of the Jersey City Food Trucks, and all of them have been invited. Hi, I'm sorry. My name is Jessica Rahavchuk. I'm organizing the Sixth Borough Market this year for operations. I also have a small business in Jersey City, and I participated with that in the market last year, and I loved it. I live in the Heights, and I think that the Sixth Borough Market. I do. Thank you. I do. I love the Heights.
I'd like to say that usually Councilwoman Osborne is very, very engaged with her constituency. And if she's in agreement with that means that she has been involved with the majority of them before she lets this come to the table. They have to be in agreement with it. I trust her because she's been involved with her constituents since we got on this council, and if she's okay with this, then I think we should respect her and respect her constituency and let it be. That's what I think.
I haven't spoken to her.
Oh, you haven't?
I have not directly myself, so, okay.
And then
10I?
I is similar, but a one-time resolution for a license. Yep. With the Central Avenue Special Improvement District to host a auto and music festival in the parking lot on Central Avenue, a small portion of the parking lot on Central Avenue, at no charge. There's no charge for that. They're using a small portion of the parking lot. We checked with the parking authority, and it's normally, not used at full capacity on the weekends.
We don't have somebody working it?
Just in the general capacity of the sound, and we're providing porta potties. Yeah.
So I was just playing with you, Councilman Yun, and David.
Sorry,
So
this came up
during the
recently.
agenda meeting, it was discussed, and the idea that Sixth Borough being charged versus SID, and the argument was that the SID is a quasi-governmental agency in that sense, and so an extension of the city in that sense, and so we support them. And
We're not we're dropping off chairs for their use to save some costs. The stage, for example, and typically that happens with other events throughout the city. Then we don't charge them for it.
Just want to hear, food vendors, trucks are allowed to go up there.
Well,
that's according to
Can't you explain to that?
Presentation.
Sit up there?
Daniel. What's the matter?
Dave Diaz, the district manager for the Central Avenue SID.
to answer Councilmember Rivera's question, this is the first time that the Central Avenue is doing the auto and music show. As we all know, the Central Avenue SID organized the Everything Jersey City Festival for a number of years. In the absence of that event, we have a group of merchants that now want to continue doing activity in the Heights, and they've started the Central Avenue Auto and Music Show. A couple of them are here today, local business owners. David Cruz, he's the chairman of the event. He's been very adamant about making sure we get this thing done as right as possible. There won't be any food vendors at this particular venture because it's so small, the area that we're using. There are so many great dining options already on Central Avenue. We're inviting them to take part and have people come from the event, walk the avenue, and go into the local brick and mortar businesses. So.
The hot dog guy gonna be
Thank you. I also wanted to thank Elizabeth and the Office of Cultural Affairs. They've been very helpful in the last couple of weeks as we've been putting this thing together and just streamlining the application process and getting us to this point where we're here before the City Council. So thank you for all your help. So.
Thank you. This wasn't clear. Are we going to assess a fee or what did we decide with that? They said no.
From the top?
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else? That's it? From the top.
F is an ordinance, 3F 15055, supplementing the code to add the title of environmental engineer 1. G is an ordinance, 15056, authorizing the city to enter into a lease, authorizing the City of Jersey City to lease city-owned property at 1315 Linden Avenue to the Jersey City Incinerator Authority. You have a new first page.
Yep.
It says the entire third floor in the fourth whereas.
Yep.
But it's no longer, the entire floor is not referenced in the fourth whereas.
That was
So what happened?
That's the replacement.
That's the replacement.
Yeah.
Excuse me, it's the fifth whereas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Has been amended to which premises are, it just eliminates the reference to the entire third floor.
Okay.
It does not apply to the entire third floor. H we did earlier.
Nope.
We didn't?
Nope. Nope.
So I apologize. H.
Ordinance to execute a 20 parking spaces,
Okay.
Fair Square, lease, this is a renewal, of existing
Right.
spaces.
Okay, I got. Aha, I got 8, I'm sorry, the H we did was the second, was the resolution H, and I wrote, that's why I got faked out, I apologize. I is the financial agreement with for a senior citizen rental housing project to be constructed by Padua Court Urban Renewal LP, an urban renewal entity pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law, New Jersey statutes annotated 4820 at 20-1 et sec.
Questions?
Actually, this one has an issue, but actually, our city lawyer, Diane, actually clear for that, What was that? I think we just make sure, since I be elected councilman, annual service charge, the most case, 10% gross revenue, And when they make a definition, gross revenue means that total income includes from the laundry room, so and so, without deduct any expense whatsoever. So now this one, she mentioned to me that old version of the state statute and the old state statute actually allow to deduct utility expenses. So this is approved by 1994 at the time state statute allowed that. Right? Correct?
Right. This abatement was awarded under, not under the long-term tax exemption law, but under the limited dividend housing corporation law, which defines gross revenue differently.
and it allows affordable housing projects to take a deduction for utilities. That's not permitted under the long-term tax exemption law. So the councilman questioned me as to why we were permitting this deduction, and that's why. What happened was the original financial agreement is silent. It doesn't say anything about the deduction, and the parties were allowing, the city and the developer were allowing the developer to take the deduction, but that when the city began to engage in more aggressive enforcement activity in 2013, this caused a little bit of confusion because it wasn't in the agreement. So in order to have better clarity going forward and to make sure that there isn't any confusion again, we are just amending the agreement to reflect that that the developer is permitted to take a deduction for utilities. That's been how the parties have been doing it all along. That's what the statute that was governing the abatement allows them to do. So it doesn't really change anything. It just provides greater clarity for everybody.
My next question is that as end of December 2014, I think we have 162 pilot program is out there. Okay, how many project and the pilot program and they belong to this issue? I mean, this is the only one has issue, or any other pilot program will have the same kind of issue?
Well, because pilots can last as long as 30 years in the case of affordable housing projects under HMFA, sometimes even longer. There are some abatements, I don't know the actual number, I can get that for you, that are governed under agreements that were entered into in the 90s. So I don't know exactly how many there are. We could compile that for you and let you know.
So then, in the future, you can cause a problem to the city of Jersey City. A couple of years ago, we auditing their book to try find out excess of profit for the pilot program to ask them like a more tax annual surcharge. So we collect like a $3 or $4 million extra. Mm-hmm. Now, the utility cost is not the cheap anymore because water and sewer, and the electric is not compared with like 20 years ago. Today is a big difference, and those kind of impacts the annual service payment can be different.
Yeah, Councilman, I wouldn't extrapolate what's happening here to any other scenario. Any agreement that comes has to be voted on by this group in this particular, and it's vetted through the mayor's office and my office. In this particular instance, it makes sense. They're paying a 15% service charge. It's senior housing. You come with the same project from the same time, but it's a full rental market rate building, and it's not paying 15%. We probably would say no. We're not going to have a cost. We got to look at each project based on what the project does for the community. And so in this one, it makes sense. It's good for us to move forward.
Probably what I'm asking is more like probably BA want to know that there are how many projects out there. So just in case, not means a BA, probably he can prepare for that, reserve that there's some kind of fund for tax appeal, right? That's your problem, not mine. But I just want to make sure.
So if you want to know how many existing tax abatements were awarded under the same, well, it would only pertain to affordable housing projects, and it would probably not many, but I can find out.
Only affordable housing units.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. This
Right.
Okay. All right.
So, and
the interest that they pay annual service charge 15% of gross revenue, and today we only charge 10% of gross revenue.
But we're not allowing the deduction of cost.
Right.
So you believe that 3%,
I have no idea.
no 4% to 5% will be utility cost?
I have no idea.
Possible.
The point is things change over time.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for the information, by the way. Okay.
Next item.
3J?
5-year abatement or tax exemption for property at 319 Tunnelly Avenue. This is 3J.
Any questions regarding 3J?
No.
None?
3K, a 20-year tax.
Great job.
You had no questions, everybody was here waiting for
I just
you.
have a remark about 5 years, not regarding your particular stuff. Joanne and Jeremy, Diane, so we had made the changes, and Joanne, you sent me some information about the 5-year I'm just reminded, I was talking to Councilperson Osborne. Can we have a meeting to discuss that whole situation, Margaret, if you can? Or that just the 5-year changes that we made, there was some.
Apply for the 5
We have to renew our 5-year ordinance, is that what you're talking about?
No, the changes that we made to make it pre-construction.
Yes.
Do you remember that? We made that change.
So you can no longer come post-construction.
Post-construction.
Right.
So there were some
Yes.
small businesses or small developers who were impacted
Yeah.
fairly negatively, it
Oh,
seems.
so you want to rescind that?
I'm not sure, so I just want to sit down and meet and talk about what the.
That was
impact is.
actually, that's why we revoked the one of the country, right? Tax abatement. Because they're not disqualified.
Yeah, they disqualified, right, that's right.
Actually,
Did.
while they're under construction, if they
Right.
apply for while under construction, they should be honoring their,
Right,
application.
and they applied after.
So we have to look at that.
And that was the problem.
That was actually not fair for the small developer or contractor. We gotta give some room.
Yeah, they applied afterwards, but that.
Well, they were.
should apply.
So while under construction, they
This
should.
guy didn't have the
They should
application
apply,
in.
right, but they applied after, and that
He
was the
finished, he's
problem.
done. Now he's coming in and he's.
Something like that.
Okay. 3K is a 20-year tax exemption for a 4-story, 46-unit.
At 170. All right, Robert.
Project at 170 Lafayette Street, constructed by 170 Lafayette Urban Renewal LLC.
Can I ask a quick
Councilman
question? Yeah. It's not much. Only why my concern is that I think since 2013, we talk of mayor's abatement policy, and sometimes I remember the last year, they're gonna come out new version of their new policy. And Jeremy, do you expect when we can see?
So we've been working on it diligently, and as you know, as a committee form, the committee actually hasn't met in some time. So the part of it is that we're trying to really look closely at our affordable housing inventory and see how we can better leverage our abatement policy to satisfy that need. So there's been some research that's being done. We're looking forward to getting some firm numbers to help firm up the final component of the policy. I'm hoping to get that to you guys in the next month or so.
Okay, you say committee, who are these committee members?
I don't have the list with me, but there are 3 members from the council on the committee, our financial advisors on the committee, there's representatives from the law department on the committee, there's representatives from, who else is on the committee, do you remember?
There's representative from the community.
From the community, from the developer community,
Real estate,
Labor.
there are 3 from the council. Tax collector,
yeah.
is it big?
Who is, you say,
From the council?
yeah, who is
It's
it?
council.
Myself, Councilman Rob Shaw, and Councilperson Osborne. And that was discussed at this table.
How we can get in those kind of committee to look into fact?
Because they volunteer while we talk about it here. You have to volunteer.
But why we don't get the information yet?
I got today.
Yeah, he said.
No, they haven't finished the work.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, well, Councilman, I will tell you this.
Jeremy?
This committee's formed, we regularly review the policy. I'll make sure you're on the next one.
No, listen to me. That's why I asked.
We have a letters and communication, they have, but over the 2 years, I'm not a genius guy, I'm dumb, so I forgot those things. So if we can provide some kind of list, which council members belong to which committee or which agency, and which committee, those kinds are available, so at least we get the encouraged letters from email from you.
Understand. I'll start working on it.
You sure?
I will start.
Not by lips. All right.
Start working on that.
Okay.
All right. Good. Now, next one.
So now we're at second readings. Oh, do you have a question? 3K? Councilman Yun?
No.
No?
Case, I think.
Okay,
that's
thank you,
one.
Diane.
Anything to say?
Thank you.
Council members, we're gonna have a public hearing on the budget. We have second reading ordinances, only 3 ordinances.
Folks, just, I don't think everyone caught that. We have a public hearing on the budget at the next meeting, okay?
At this meeting.
We're not voting on it.
Nope.
We're just having a public hearing.
Just hearing
When
testimony.
we first introduced we received the budget, we passed a resolution that said we would have a public hearing.
Wednesday's
Wednesday.
This
Yep.
Wednesday. And then
Okay,
from that,
two resolutions, council members. We did quite a few. A is emergency temporary appropriation. B is a resolution commending Laura Castiglione. C, resolution honoring Reverend Dr. Stephanie Minity. D, honoring Talonda Griffin. E, honoring Quinn Williams. We did F earlier with Matt Ward. G is introducing the Historic Downtown Special Improvement District budget. H we did with Elizabeth Kane. I is the license agreement with Central Avenue Special Improvement District. We talked about that earlier as well. J is establishing a commodity resale system and entering into a commodity resale agreement with the Incinerator Authority for the purchase of gas and diesel fuel. K is a release of the performance bond posted by M&M at Crescent Court for the Crescent Court Development Project. That's on First Street. It's in downtown Crescent Court. The Crescent Court. Yeah. L is authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by TechCon Contractors Incorporated in connection with the contract known as the Van Wagenen Apple Treehouse Phase 3 site improvements. M, refunding less than $900 and a reduction in assessments to a successful property appeal at Tottenham Court. N and O we did earlier. P, authorize P, Q, R, S, and T, authorize the closures of streets. P is Exchange Place on May 16th for the City Challenge race. Q is Exchange Place on May 24th for the Teen Forest Massacre Memorial Committee that was taken off the last agenda. R is closing, is on board.
yeah.
R is closing 5th from Erie to Manila, 4th from Manila to Erie, Manila from 6th to 1st, Saddlewood Court, 2nd from Marin Boulevard to Erie Street, and 3rd from Erie Street to Manila Avenue. This is for the, on May 24th, for the 37th Santa Cruzan and Flores de Mayo Festival. S is closing Exchange Place on June 7th for the Jersey City, for the Bike JC Ward Tour. T, closing Gardner Avenue in Monticello from Belmont to Jewett. On Saturday, August 1, for the Continuous Flow Christian Center for the Health Fair. U was done earlier. V, W, and X. Y was withdrawn. Z was done earlier. Z1, an amendment to an agreement with A.R. James and Company to construct and maintain bus shelters with advertising space at various locations in the city.
Can I just something? Because you're so, it's on 10L, the apple tree.
10L.
L. Can you explain to L, yeah, apple tree issue, this one?
Apple tree house?
Yes.
So what? Is it in Ward C or?
Yeah, it's written, it's application, it's written, 10L.
Yeah, but
They're
you know,
supposed to be doing some work there, right? Finally,
yeah,
right?
what is the issue now?
After 5. Oh,
Right,
so the settlement
right.
was what
Happened here is, when we took office, the city was in the final throes of finishing that project and to award a contract. The contract got awarded in the early days by us, by this council, without us really understanding what was going on. Once that happened, we had put a stop in on the project because it was a significant investment, about $400,000, and we weren't sure that the building was being used for the highest and best use. And so there was, at that point in time, conversations with the community, conversations with the departments, trying to figure out, is this really what we want to do? After some time had passed, we figured out exactly how we want to use the building with some changes to what was being done initially at that time. And then we went out and we're now in the process of hiring architects to kind of tweak the design and go out and finish the project. But in the meantime, as we were figuring all that out, that award that went under the old plan was out there dangling, and so that contractor wasn't able to finish the contract that they were awarded. When that happens in a construction context, they're entitled to the lost economic opportunity, and so the settlement is just based on that. They sought extreme amount of money, and we settled it for this amount, to try and move it on. Okay?
So we're gonna pay $70,000.
Yep.
To settle the case, right?
To what?
Settle the case.
To settle the case, that's right.
And then, last year was, what? No, now it's a couple of months ago. We proved that the funding for Apple Tree House.
That was for, like I said, the new architects to come in and redesign the project to meet the needs that we've set for it.
So where do we stand the Apple Tree? So we put out the bid?
Yes.
Okay, so now when they will start?
So we're gonna hire a historic architect first again to do the redesign, and then we'll come back to award, we'll do bid specs for the work that's gonna be done on the exterior part of the property, and then it'll come before the council again to award.
I remember that funding comes from the UEZ fund, right?
UEZ fund, and I think Hudson County Open Space was part of the fund, part of the funding option.
But especially the UEZ fund.
Yeah, that was a majority of it, that was most of it.
Okay, like $700,000.
I want to say 600,000, then the other 100,000 from the open space.
Is that right? So
Yes.
total $700,000. So they work with that, I guess, right? Okay, I just want to make sure. All right.
Okay, Z2 is amending the contract with Charles Montaigne to provide legal counsel for the 6th Street Embankment. Z3 is we're ratifying a professional services agreement with law firm Wiener Lesniak to do their final billing in connection with the city's representation in commercial litigation. Z4 is a resolution commending Daddy's Sunshine Hudson County Lupus Walk 2015. Z5, I gave you earlier, rejecting all proposals received on October 9, 2014 for security guard services. And Z6, authorizing a service agreement with Eastern Armored Services to deliver city funds to Investors Bank.
Can I ask a G3?
Z3.
Right. Lesniak, the regarding for the litigation for the Port Authority. We paid them $344,000. Okay, what we got?
We got the lawsuit, we initiated the lawsuit, we got a complaint filed, we got early representation on discovery issues and motions that we defended, that the Port Authority tried to pursue us to stop the case, and we got the strategic design as to how we're going to pursue that litigation. So we actually got it for a song, and you're welcome, counsel, because we spent a lot of time really hammering down on their bills. One of the reasons why we have to do what we're doing now is I held the last, 5 months of their bills and went through each line and made sure I agreed with it or had them take it off. And to their credit, they were willing to work with us, and they've taken off considerable amount of the work they did because they knew that I was working under a specific strategic budget. So they really did work with us great on the project, and I'm very happy with their services. And this is just to close out all of those outstanding bills and finish that contract with them because we have new representation on the case. But to put it in context, Newark spent roughly $1 million a year on this lawsuit. And in a year and a half, we spent 300-something thousand. So that's how we're doing it. That's because of the diligence that everyone's putting in to keep it as cost effective as possible. And to the Lesniak's credit, they had a conflict, so they had to stop working on the file. But they've been very supportive of the new law firm and made sure that our transition is seamless, so we don't lose any of our strategic advantage against the Port Authority.
Then my next question is that when we City of Jersey gave the contract with them, you guys didn't never figure out that they have a conflict of interest involved?
We did a conflict check. The conflict check came back with no conflict. What happened is they had the representation of a developer that has an older building in Jersey City and a tax abatement issue presented, and they sent in a letter on that tax abatement issue just asking to negotiate the issue. Once we saw the letter, we identified the conflict, started the process of figuring out is there an actual conflict, and then once we determined that, we started the process of transitioning the file. That's what happened. Okay?
Okay, so now, do me a favor. The way you explained to me that conflict of interest, so what was not now is the problem, can you put on writing for me and send me an email for my orders? I'd like to read
I think we already did an email, but I'm happy to send you an email if you want. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, it wasn't now one. Okay?
No, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm saying we were aware of it. We did a check.
Seconded by Councilperson Waterman.
Councilman Bojan.
Councilman Bojan has some, I didn't see this.
How many millions have been spent on the 6th Street embankment?
I have to pull the file to know for sure, but if based on my off the top of my head, I would say we spent $500,000.
Councilman Gajewski to adjourn? Ramchal?
Second.
Bajano to adjourn? Yun? Coleman?
Yes, she gone.
Rivera, Waterman, Lavaro. Say goodnight, everyone.
Good night.